All right, our top story this morning, Iran is preparing on an attack on Israel that will use more powerful warheads and other weapons not used in its previous two attacks.
Right, this according to Iranian and Arab officials briefed on the plans. They told the Wall Street Journal that Iran could use Iraqi territory for part of the operation and would likely target Israeli military facilities, but much more aggressively than the last time.
Speaking of Israel's October 26th attack that killed 4 Iranian army personnel, President Masoud Pezeshkian earlier warned that it will in no way leave any violation of its territory and security unanswered.
However, he said that a potential ceasefire between its allies, Hamas and Hezbollah and Israel, could affect the intensity of Iran's response to Israel.
Meanwhile, in the last 24 hours, Israel pressed on its campaigns in Lebanon and Gaza. Gaza rescuers said Israeli strikes on the Strip killed at least 35 people, including 17 people in the north.
At least 3 people were killed in an airstrike near the southern Lebanon city of Sidon, the Lebanese Health Ministry said, as more bombs hit the country. The Israeli Defense Forces said it has eliminated a senior commander in Hezbollah's drone unit, Al-Barakat. The IDF said that Barakat spent over a decade planning and carrying out UAV attacks on Israel.
Meanwhile, Israel said Hezbollah fired 100 missiles from Lebanon into its territory, several of which were intercepted while some fell in unpopulated areas, as per the IDF. However, the Lebanese group said that the projectiles targeted, or for the first time, Israeli military base in northern city of Haifa.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, on a visit to the Lebanon border, vowed to respond firmly to Hezbollah's attacks.
With or without an agreement, the key to returning peace and security in the north, the key to returning our evacuated residents in the north safely to their homes, is to push Hezbollah back to the litany, to strike any attempt by it to rearm, and thirdly, to respond forcefully against any action against us.
And well, for more on this, we're now being joined by Dr. Charles Kupchan, live from Washington, D.C. He's a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations. Welcome to World DNA, Dr. Kupchan.
Good to be with you.
Likewise. Now, Iran has suggested that a truce in Lebanon and Gaza could soften retribution against Israel. But it does look like that Iran is sending mixed signals on potential retaliation against Israel, while it is suggesting that there is some sort of a scope of not that strong a response against Israel. It has also told the Arab countries that it wants to attack Israel in a higher intensity when compared to its last attack. Your assessment of the situation in West Asia right now?
Well, I think there are two different issues in play. One is, what's the prospect for a serious ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, Israel and Hezbollah? And there, I think the likelihood is more fighting for the foreseeable future. Neither side seems to be holding back. Hezbollah continues to launch missiles on northern Israel. Israel keeps pounding Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon as well as on the coast and in eastern Lebanon. The American delegation was there just a few days ago, came home with nothing to show. So I don't think we're going to see much movement on a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, certainly not before we see who wins the U.S. election and how that affects the region. And secondly, I think Iran is in a difficult position right now. Israel just took a strike on its air defense system, on its ability to produce fuel for its ballistic missiles. Now its key oil production facilities lack the S-300s, the air defense system that they had. They can't get more of them because Russia is busy fighting a war in Ukraine. So I think the Iranians are going to be treading carefully here, knowing that they're exposed if they take a strike at Israel that then triggers a serious, widespread Israeli retaliation.
Right now, Dr. Kapchan, just to expand on what my colleague also said and what you've said, the Iranian president has clearly said that Iran will not leave any aggression unanswered. Of course, we've been seeing threats in the past few days as well. The question now being, what will be the nature of an Iranian attack if there is one, with reports suggesting that Iran has incurred damages in its defensive and offensive capabilities, of course.
Well, I think the two Iranian attacks that we've seen so far haven't really succeeded in doing serious damage to Israel, largely because the Israelis themselves, with help from the United States and other parties, shot down most of the missiles that the Iranians have sent in. You mentioned in your report the idea that Iraq might be involved. Yes, there are Iraqi militias that are under the control of the Iranians. There are Syrian militias that are under the control of the Iranians. They could potentially launch strikes on Israel. But the bottom line is that Iran's main proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas, have been very seriously degraded. Their ability to be proxies of Iran and hit Israel, they can still launch missiles, but not in a way that they could before. So Iran, I think, is, as I said, in a weak position here, and is likely, if it does respond, to try to avoid a major escalation.
Right, Dr. Kapchan, just to add to the fact that Iran is in a weak position, its S-300 missiles have also been damaged in the precision strikes by Israel. Just to take that point forward where you mentioned that you're not really optimistic of any movement forward in the ceasefire deal, do you think that Bibi, the Israeli Prime Minister, will not make any concrete decisions, keeping in mind that we are less than 48 hours away from the US presidential polls?
Yeah, I don't see any real movement on the diplomatic front for a while, partly because of the uncertain political situation here in the United States, but also because I think from an Israeli perspective, significant progress is being made on the ground. Hamas is being deeply set back. Hezbollah pushed north away from the border. They can still do damage to Israel, but the prosecution of this offensive against Hezbollah is making a big difference. Iran now deterred because some of its air defense is gone. So I think at least for now, Bibi thinks that he can continue to use military force to take down this broad array of Iranian-backed enemies of Israel. And because that military operation is making progress on multiple fronts, I don't think we're going to see it end in the near future.
Right, Dr. Kapchan, thank you so much for joining us on World DNA. We'll, of course, have to wait and see how the results in the US affects and impacts the conflict in West Asia. But thank you for joining us on the show.
Good night.